Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Hebraic Awakening. Today we're going to discuss Deborah, the beekeeper, but this is Deborah, the nurse. And we're going to talk about the quiet power of our femininity. Now, the disclaimer, okay? This is really for women, and I'm posting it on my YouTube channel, and I thought about doing a Patreon so that women can have a safe space to talk, but I realized I already have that, with my sister Torah study. So I have already done this particular teaching with that group, but we get really real in that group. In this video, I'm going to try to keep it not so spicy. But I do want to say that we are going to be talking about your femininity. We're going to be talking about energy. And these are words that you should not shy away from. Okay? If you have been following me or if you have listened to me for any amount of time, you know that I always bring things back to Torah the best way that I can. All right? So this is not new age talk. We need to stop giving credit to everybody else. But yeah, he is the Elohim and creator and the king of everybody and everything. Okay? So he alone gets the glory. So we're going to talk about energy, which Yah is energy. He really is. And femininity, the world don't own that. Yah created woman and man, right? So disclaimer, we're going to use those words. Also, again, this is to women. Men can listen in. All right. You can take notes. You can give it to your wife or your fiance. You can pass it to your sisters. However, this is for women because I realize that when we are in spaces and anything is directed toward women, we're always told to be obedient, be obedient, be obedient to your husbands, be obedient, and we are treated like second-class citizens, and this has really got to stop. Seriously, like even when I'm sitting in spaces designed for women, a lot of them is talking about that, talking about head wrap and modesty, and it's like there is more to us than that. And because again, we don't truly understand Torah. We don't understand our culture the way that we should because we have been utterly separated from everything, and rightfully so because we were disobedient as a nation. We have just been utterly separated from everything. So it's going to take a while for us to stop and ask questions and do a little digging to return back to our rightful places. So we're going to talk about our femininity, and you'll see different videos, okay, with me putting this topic in because again, some women are not a part of the sister Torah study. So I will put the videos, here. Now, if it's a video and I just don't want any men to see and hear, you will have to be a part of the Sister Torah study group in order to get that video if I think that it's just a woman's only teaching, right? If I think and we're talking and we're discussing some really intimate things about our womanhood and putting it all up on YouTube for everybody to listen to me is nasty. That's just my little personal opinion. It's just nasty. We need to be in intimate settings where we can feel safe and not be shamed, right? Because in safe spaces, that guilt and shame is killed. It's choked out. And a lot of women can be free when they are in safe spaces, giving their testimony and asking very important questions. So a lot of our sisters overshare on social media. And this is why shame and guilt just following us all the days of our life. And we need to learn that we need to be a part of safe spaces, right? So if you need community, please reach out to me, email me, comment, engage, and let me know, because I run a really tight ship, all right, concerning women in safe spaces. All right, so let's get into the lesson. All right, so let's talk about the word Deborah. I think many of us know that it means bee, but if you didn't know, her name actually means bee in the Hebrew. It is the feminine form of Devar, meaning word. Okay? Midbar is another form of the word Devar, meaning wilderness. So inside of Deborah's name means bee. It's a derivative of the words, and it's a derivative of the wilderness. So we could kind of make our own picture of what the function of this name is supposed to be. So words are the arrangements of things that create order. Speech, it gives order to things. Things are real and they are tangible. And we place these things directly into the ear gates of the person receiving, right? So Deborah, the nurse, right? She encompasses everything. And as nurses, so let's clarify that nurse, we know what a nurse is, but also a maid servant, someone who is serving alongside maybe a mother, a queen mother, someone with high status would have a maid servant or a nurse. So as women, because we are the first teachers, we are actually teaching our children how to what? Speak, right? And we are giving order in our houses. Usually we are the managers of our home. We are telling everybody what to do, how to do it, when to do it, where to do it, right? And we are placing this order of arrangement inside of the ear gates of the household, right? So you need to study what a gate is, right? And to think practical, let's just take the basic meaning of a gate. When you put a gate up to your property, what are you saying to everyone in your community? Wilderness, when we look at the wilderness from a scientific standpoint, it's a perfect ecosystem. Like it's this chaos, but it's orderly, right? And so we know that for us, when Yah takes us out of bondage and places us in the wilderness, it is to nourish us, it is to teach us, and it is to test us, right? So this is all of the picture words that is inside of the function of Deborah as a nurse, as a bee, right? So let's get into the function of a bee. Bees, if we look at it, they are a picture of us, right? Because bees are considered unclean, yet what they produce is considered clean, right? So I think this is a perfect picture of us as humans, which have become unclean through sin. However, through Messiah, we are made clean, and now we can produce fruit fit for the kingdom. All right, the bee colony. Worker bees are entirely female, right? The whole worker bee colony. But they are unable to produce fertilized eggs. This is why the colony needs the male, right, bee, so that they can fertilize the egg. Now let's look at this quote from Orkin. Honeybee colonies depend upon diversity of population for survival. as each caste of bee performs specific tasks. Thus, while queens are extremely powerful within their societies, they cannot establish new colonies without the help of drones, workers who provide fertilization, food, and wax to construct the hives. So, as a queen, right, you are not an island. You need to be placed within community so that you can function at your fullest, right? And so this is the picture that I'm getting from the bee colony. You need to have women surrounding you in your community that is going to bring all of their gifts and talents and their work to bring harmony to the community, this unity that we are all thirsty for. You know, everyone is thirsty for community, unity, but we just can't get it together, right? Because we need to really heal. We need to heal, and we need to understand our roles and what that looks like from our cultural standpoint and from a biblical standpoint. You know, until we return back to true understanding of the beginning, we're going to always break down and not function properly. So bees are a community of insects that move in an ordered arrangement. They are not just doing whatever they want. Remember, we just talked about that. It's an order. This is inside of Deborah, the nurse. The pollination that they provide is crucial to our survival. Pollen is necessary so that the flower can produce fruit. So those of us that are in the garden club, we have a garden club where we are gardening. We're growing things. And one thing that we found out is some of the things that we're growing are slow to produce, and we're trying to figure out why. And it's because if you don't have the bees coming to pollinate that flower so that it can produce fruit, it's going to take its time to grow, right? That could be one of the reasons why. And so we've learned that you have to place flowers alongside your veggies and plants that will attract the bees so that they can pollinate and take the pollen and do their thing. And I thought that was so epic. Just looking at the function of a woman, just looking at the function of community and what that looks like. Pollen grains have sperm cells inside. And if they find a compatible female cone, it will germinate. Like a marriage and reproduction, the bee itself, as we stated, is unclean, but what they produce is not. So we all know about the we're not going to get spicy over here, but we know that, the act of sexual intercourse, is not a sin, but you become unclean, right? You become unclean. And you have to become clean again, right? We know the rules to that. If we not, you look it up in Torah. And then we produce a righteous fruit that is a son or a daughter. So I thought that was epic. Again, this is inside Deborah, the nurse. And those of us that are homemakers, especially those of us that are homemakers and people are guilting us and shaming us for wanting to be homemakers, especially when our children are young, know that this Deborah was so powerful, and we're going to get to the power, the quiet power of this nurse, right? But I want us to understand just the name and all of that power that is inside of one name. If we look at the pictures, as we often do when we are looking at our Hebraic language, it's going to give you a deeper understanding besides just saying be, right? All right, so we can conclude that inside of a nurse is the characteristics of speech that produces an ordered arrangement in the midst of chaos. Now, Genesis 35, it records Rebecca's nurse, Deborah, and gives us some insight into her if we just dig just a little bit. Her name and her death was recorded smack dab in the middle of a story trying to be told, right? So that when this happens, it's a marker, which means that Yah is trying to show you something. This is revelation. He's trying to reveal something to you that's deeper. All right. And so, because when I was reading it, I was like, this don't even make any sense the way it was placed. But if you understood culture and context and why her name was mentioned, and then Yaakov receives what he receives, and you understand the characteristics of Deborah, the nurse, the maid servant, then it makes perfect sense. So we don't have a whole lot of information on her, but we see her in the Torah. In Genesis 24, verse 59, we see the first mention of Deborah, the nurse. You know, Rachel, she was getting ready to be matched with Isaac, and her nurse was sent with her. So if we go back and study culture and study Eastern culture, because we have to know that even in our search for our culture, Hebrew culture, sometimes we don't have it, y'all, because our books and stuff was burned. Our temple was burned. We've been sent into captivity at least 7 times. And we just don't have a whole lot of information on us. But what we do have is the information that others who enslaved us or we were in captivity by them, we have the information that they have of us. So when we look at Eastern culture, because we are an Eastern people, and I had someone to say, you know, why are you looking at other Eastern cultures? This is how I know you don't know how to study. This is how I know that you're not studying. This is how I know it for a fact. But anyway, when we look at other Eastern cultures that make mention of us, we can see what a maid servant really does for someone of high stature, you know, like a queen. And they really help to nurture, because while you queening, you know, while you're the princess, you know, while you are of high stature, you have a nurse that is sometimes like your mother, because she becomes the closest thing to you at times. And she can pour into you. She can help you rear your children. She can help you to give wisdom. You know, there's a lot of great things about a maid servant, right? And we're thinking of maid in 21st century. No, there's a lot of nurturing going on. There's a lot of pouring into going on. There's a lot of management going on, right? And Deborah, the nurse, by the time we get to Genesis 35 and 8, we see that Yaakov is about to have a transition. So if we put our thinking caps on for a second and just take a stroll down our ancient lane, so to speak, let's think for a second. So, you know, I'm like, So her death is mentioned right in the middle of a story being told about Yaakov. He's getting ready to have a vision. Now, we know Yaakov was immature before his name was changed to Israel. Immature, you know, a trickster, lying, and everything else. And we see a transition getting ready to happen. But before it does, we see that the Torah, okay, makes mention of Rebecca's nurse transitioning on. And there she was placed under this oak tree, the tree of weeping, the great oak tree of mourning, right? So let's stop and let's take a look at this tree, because I love to look at the Hebrew Eretz, right? And it is a derivative of Elohim, meaning powers. And so if you do your own study on trees in the Hebrew and the significance of trees, you're going to get an answer, right? And she is buried under an oak tree. And if you do your due diligence and study oak tree and the significance of an oak tree, you're going to get another picture, right? So she is mentioned and is reverenced. And before the story can go on, they had to stop and go into great mourning for this nurse of Rebecca's that has transitioned on. And so I'm like, wow. Like, she transitions and then Yaakov gets the revelation. You know what? She does her job. She pours into Yaakov, and I know she had to. She makes sure that she is helping to nurture that prophetic promise that the Most High has given. And she is going to nurse that thing, and she is going to nurture that thing and help it to get to where it's supposed to go. Because remember, a name is the function and the characteristic of a person. So this is Yah revealing himself prophetically through this, mention of Deborah the nurse. And now that Yaakov has been nurtured, she transitions, and Yaakov receives the revelation, and his name is changed. And now he can walk in awe of who he was meant to be. But you have to stop, right? And you just have to ask questions. You can't just gloss over somebody. They just mention her. No, women, you are important. You are not second-class citizens. You are not just called to be obedient to your husbands and be obedient to every man walking around. You are important, even if you are a homemaker. You are raising kings and queens. You are raising scientists. You are raising doctors and lawyers. You are raising Torah teachers, prophets. You are raising a nation. And your femininity is needed, right? Your femininity is needed. And some of us have a quiet yet powerful femininity. We can move quietly and be powerful at the same time, to where the whole community will stop and mourn you because of your transition. I really want us to get this. Being a feminine woman does not make you weak. We know we are in an unbalanced society right now where the roles are reversed and all of that. However, the prophetic word is going in the earth. And you know how I know this? It is because if you are on social media, you see the return to femininity. You see all women returning unto femininity. And that's how I know this is Yah speaking in the earth, because he's trying to get his people first to turn back, and those who join the nation to turn back to him, to repent and turn back. Yes, we have been made to be masculine because our homes are broken, and we have to have or rely more on our masculine energy than anything. And I have seen comments about women who want to return to their femininity, but they feel that they can't. They feel that because they are a single mother and they're both mother and father, that they have to be in their masculine energy, to be able to raise the kids and survive. And I'm like, that's not going to get it. And we have to look at things differently, because you should remain in your femininity. There are times where you have to use your masculine energy, because we have estrogen and testosterone inside of us, right? And so we know that y'all put that there. We didn't put that there. So there are times where we're going to lean more on what we refer as the masculine side, right, to assert ourselves, but it shouldn't be lopsided. And we gotta return back to that, because as a single mother, and if you are a single mother and you're listening to me, if you are repenting and you are returning back to the Most High, and you are having an intimate relationship with Him, that He has a Torah specifically for you. Now we know we have the Torah, what is written, but He has a specific Torah for you. All right. All of the things that you have been through, your family, your bloodline, your curses that you need to break, bad habits, old cycles that need to be broken. He has a specific Torah, because Torah is instructions. We say laws and things of that nature, but in the Hebraic culture, it is the instructions for life. So He has a set of instructions for you, so that you can be made whole. So in conclusion, as a single mother, your prayer needs to change. Instead of saying, I got to become the man and the woman in this relationship, because I'm in a relationship by myself and I don't have a husband, I don't have a father figure that I can rely on. You need to pray, and you need to listen for instructions. Because you are not going to tell me that Yah won't send you what you prayed for if it is in line with His will. We all know that our children need a covering, a good father figure covering. And He will send it to you. And it may not be in the form of a husband. But you have to open up your mouth and be very specific, and then align yourself with that, so that when the men come that is sent from Yah, because once you pray, the men gonna come, but they are not all sent from Yah, and you're gonna have wisdom to be able to discern who's sent from Yah and who is not. And once you understand that they are sent from Yah, they will help to nurture or to cover your children in the way that you need. However, if you don't believe that, and you believe in the power of your strength, and you operate in that masculine side, that's all you're going to get is that side of the masculine where you are the provider, you go out and work, you carry the family on your shoulder. You carry the burden when your shoulders and your back is not meant for that. Then that's what you're going to get. I'm a firm believer, because I was a single mother for 15 years until I understood some things. And when my mind shifted and my energy shifted, and I realized that I needed and desired a righteous husband, and I aligned myself and I disciplined myself. So that when He came, I could discern, and I would be ready as I could be to receive Him. Then He came. Because if you don't know my testimony, my husband adopted all 5 of my children, signed his name on each and every one of their birth certificates, and made the family McCormick's. And one thing my brother told me recently, he said, Tina, when I talk to your children, He said they talk about their daddy. And they don't refer to him as stepdaddy or Mr. Robert. They say daddy, like he has been their daddy their whole entire life. And to them, he has. And it was only when I decided to pray strategically to get back in my feminine energy. Because I had one guy that said, "Dang, you don't want no help. You don't want nobody to help you take out the trash. You don't want nothing." And I realized, wow, right? These are things that make you go, And when I realized, no, I need help. I need a husband to come in here and to provide and to protect and to see about me and my children. Not just me, but and my children. To be a father and to prepare my house for that. It came. So can't nobody tell me. 5, y'all. I have 5. They all grown, but I have 5. And they still call on their daddy. They still call on them. And I'm telling you this because I live it. Not because I'm just a Torah teacher and I'm just consider myself a Torah teacher and I'm just sitting up here putting words together and putting up a presentation. No, honey, I live it. And I'm challenging you to live it too. However, it's going to take discipline. It's going to take you recognizing that you want to be a man. Because once you hear that you need to do differently, but you say, but, then you want to be a man. Instead of saying, you know what? I need a provider. I need a protector. I need a husband. I need a father figure. I need an uncle. I need a big brother. I need a grandfather. I need a godfather to come into my life. Instead of saying, well, he ain't here yet, so I'm going to be the man. And no. And to learn where that comes from. Truly, did you see that in your family? Because I didn't. My parents are still together. That's why when I heard it and it was brought to my attention, I started correcting it. Because I was like, whoa, how you going to be an independent woman with 5 children? Sis, sit down somewhere. You sound hella crazy. Excuse me. You sound hella crazy. You have 5 children. You want to be an independent woman. Why? Because everyone around me was saying that, because everybody around me was broken and operating in their masculine energy. It is all due to hurt. A feminist, if you get her alone, she'll tell you she really don't want to be working in the streets like that all day, providing and being lonely. If you really want to know the truth. So the power of your femininity is needed for the nations. You carry so much light when you are resting in that power, okay? So let's just conclude the imagery of Deborah. Deborah, be unity, the words, ordered arrangement. She can bring order. It's from chaos, like she can bring it into order. A nurse to give sustenance. A tree, an oak tree, she can give counsel. She walks in righteousness and she has the positive strength of this, like a strong oak. She's very strong in these areas. And she was buried in Bethel, the house of powers. This is what Yah is saying, that her resting place was in the house of Elohim. Because she did what she was called to do. And she did it in her feminine energy. In her being a maid servant, a nurse, nurturing. And there's nothing wrong with that. So let's talk. Remaining in your feminine energy. Remember I said, let's not get caught up on words and, oh, she talking new age. Because see, this is you wanting to remain in your masculine energy instead of listening with discernment. So the queen bee cannot function without community. She needs diverse sisters who bring their different skills and work to help build the colony. When you remove the queen, chaos erupts and you have a bunch of angry sisters. So when, of course, the men were removed from the home and we had to walk in our masculine energy, and we no longer could rely on our feminine, how do I want to say this without getting in trouble? Our ruach was jacked up. You know, we can't listen to the ruach like we should, right? And you will see yourself, if you true to yourself and you examine yourself, you will see that when you're broken and you're single parent and you're broken, what they call women's intuition, you can't even listen to it. You be all off and you swear you walking in wisdom, but you off. Sometimes you can listen to the intuition. You know what you'll say? I should have listened to my first mind. I should have listened to my first mind. How come I ain't follow my... Just off. And it's becoming more and more frequent that we cannot listen to the ruach that's inside of us. That's supposed to teach us. That's supposed to give us wisdom and guidance. We off because we broken. And we operating in masculine energy. Right? As a blooming flower in the spring, so should we be inside of our communities. There are seasons in our lives where we are blossoming for all to see and most of all benefit from. Okay? Without our blossoms, the communities around us hurl into chaos. So we need to learn that we blossom, our gifts, our talents is needed. You are not an island. I know we got heavy introverts, but that's a learned behavior from trauma that we have to protect ourselves because it is what it is over here. Because if you are melanated, you are a tribal person. You come from tribes and clans, right? And they do things together often, right? And so you have to understand that. So for those of us that are extreme introverts, you need to check yourself at times, right? Because I'm an extrovert introvert. So I'm not picking on anybody. I have 3 children who are introverts. And I know where all of it is coming from. And this is how we're going to break generational curses. However, we are not an island and we cannot be by ourselves. We must find safe communities because we are blossoming. A flower that blooms is for people to see, for people to admire, and so forth. During the fall and winter months, bees slow down because flowers slow down. They can survive from the honey that they produce. So, with this being said, that as a woman, when you are feeling burnout coming, and you're feeling tired, there are seasons where you're supposed to go and rest. However, it doesn't mean that you're supposed to seclude yourself from any and everybody. It means that you're resting from serving in that capacity. And what you are doing is getting that honey, the words, the encouragement. You're studying, you're praying, you're fasting, you're getting with other sisters, and you're receiving. Right? Because you're doing all this blossoming, you're doing all this giving, you're doing all this serving. Now you have a season where you kind of go into a form of seclusion where you're receiving. You're receiving from your sisters, you're receiving from your community, you're receiving from the word of Yah, you're receiving from the Ruach, you're receiving. Right? So there are seasons where you need to receive and replenish yourself. Take the time. However, you are not an island. You are not supposed to be secluded from everybody. And don't nobody bet not call you and all of that. No, we have to learn how to do things, right? So, know when you are burnt out. Know when you need to recuperate for the next season of your life. Your assignment is not just for you, but for you to serve your household and your community. Become optimistic and remain positive. Not a false positivity, because that get on my nerves. But when you radiate optimism, you attract what you want. This is why Torah is our guide. Look at Jezebel. So Jezebel this year, studying her, I was like, she walked in all of her feminine power. The evil side of it. And she walked in it all. And I was like, okay, because, we are on our feminine journey. And I was like, whoa, Jezebel could have been a force to be reckoned with for good if she had used that feminine power that she was just whirling around, for good. But she was operating in straight witchcraft. Feminine power gone wrong. Manipulation is witchcraft. Selfish pride, ego, no. It's a no. But I cracked up. I was like, man, Jezebel, boy. She was something else, honey. Had everybody scared and everybody eating out the palms of her hands at the same time. Okay? So, radiate optimism. Because for the women, when you say, well, do you want to return to your femininity? Yeah, but here we go. Yeah, but, and you're going to talk about all the negative and how you just going to have to go ahead and keep on keeping on. I don't believe in that. Like I said, I got receipts. I got receipts to prove it. And I am not trying to brag, y'all, because you wouldn't have paid me to believe when I was going through what I was going through that I would be in this position that I am in now. And I praise Yah for that. However, it was discipline. It was a lot of Yah getting me together, correcting me, telling me that my thinking was stinky. It really was. Telling me that you like to play the victim. You don't want to accept responsibility and accountability for your part that you played in your life. You want to whine and complain about what everybody did to you, but in the end, you don't know how to make decisions. This is how the Ruach was teaching me. You don't know how to forgive. You're going to have to forgive. And that don't mean let people walk all over you. That means forgive and move on. If you don't want to talk to the person no more, fine, but you need to forgive. I mean, these are things that I had to learn so that I can walk in my feminine energy and not carry all that dark, ugly energy, pessimistic thought process around with me. You have to remain positive and optimistic. You need to know your assignments because boundaries are needed. When you set boundaries, you can create positivity. You cannot be positive when you are open book to any and everybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm transparent, but only when necessary. Because you will never know all my business. But when it's necessary and I have to say it because Yah is telling me, testify, speak, then I will. And I know I'm strong in that area. Like if somebody came to me and said, I don't know why he would marry you. You got 5 kids. He shouldn't have married you. It's not gonna bother me. If someone say, you a woman, quit teaching. You need to sit down and be quiet. It's not gonna bother me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm healed and I'm set free in those areas. So that I can now talk about it and I can teach from it. Right? So you have to know your assignments and know boundaries. I set boundaries. And we're going to talk about the power of no. Because this year I'm learning the power of no. No means no. No, I don't want to do this. No, I don't want to go there. No. And you don't have to be crass. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be insensitive. But you should be assertive You don't have to be aggressive, but you can be assertive. And you can still be in your positive feminine energy. Okay? Because boundaries really will help you to remain positive. Don't set boundaries and see how negative you're going to become. And then you wonder why you mad and frustrated and walking around in masculine energy and looking sour in the face. And when you go places, don't nobody want to help you. Don't nobody want to open the door for you. Nobody's treating you like a queen. We got to take accountability and responsibility for the part that we play and how people treat us. We teach people how to treat us, and people see how you treat yourself. So to be a true feminine woman, you need to walk in your feminine energy. You need to be healed. And I didn't even get to Deborah, the judge. I'm going to do part 2 to Deborah, the judge. And then we're going to talk about how to walk in the strength of your feminine energy. Today's lesson was the power of your quiet feminine energy. Because you see, she wasn't even really mentioned, but she was powerful. If we just do a little digging. Deborah, she is a judge. Her husband named Labadoth, I believe. His name actually means torches, fire, flames. And then she was surrounded by Barak, the commander, meaning lightning. So she's surrounded by men who carrying, remember they names are functions. So who's carrying the function of a fire, a flame, a torch, lightning? She's surrounded by these men. And she's a bee. Y'all come on. Can y'all put the pictures together? Because the Bible records her as the wife of torches, flame, fire. Honey, she is she's a powerful sister because of the men that she was surrounded by. Okay, her husband wasn't some beta male sitting on the side talking about my wife, she under the tree and she judging and I'm over here doing whatever I'm doing. No. Okay, so, I'm going to touch on that in part 2. But this is our return back to our femininity. It is much needed. And in the quote unquote Israelite community, we need to talk about it and quit just talking about being obedient to our husbands and being obedient to your moray and be obedient to your assembly. I'm so sick of that. Y'all, it's more to us than that. Yes, we all supposed to walk in obedience. Now let's talk about how to heal so that we can walk in correct obedience. Let's talk about that. Okay? So please comment down below. Let me know what you guys are thinking. If you want to add something to it. What did you get out of it? Did you learn something? Because I sure did. Because I never heard of no Deborah the nurse. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't. And, let me know if you're on your feminine journey. Are you on it? Because I sure am. And I've always thought of myself as a feminine woman. But when you are a single parent, you can't help but be in your masculine energy. And yes, sometimes you have to be as a single parent. But you better learn to call on some help. Because, honey, when you radiate optimism, my husband, and I'm going to get off, y'all. I'm like an old woman. My husband is on the road all week, right? And my kids are grown. So I'm prancing around the town by myself, doing stuff. And everywhere I go, I'm always getting some type of help. And I said, whoa, I am really walking in my feminine energy. Like, that is the truth. Everywhere I go, I just like, wow. And it ain't just me and either. It's women. It's, and I'm like, wow. This is the light of Yah shining through. And as a woman, as a female, I'm radiating my particular feminine energy that I'm supposed to radiate. And my husband is gone and I'm able to sustain myself, of course, but I realize, I am just attracting what I need when I need it. And it's just a beautiful thing. So let me know if you're on your feminine journey. And stay tuned for part 2, Deborah the Judge, and the strength of our feminine energy. All right, until the next video, shalom, everyone.